welcome to another episode of Mind the Game, brought to you by UNINTERRUPTED and Wondery. Today we're here in beautiful Indianapolis at the Thunderdome, the home of the Pat McAfee Show. He was gracious enough to let us camp out here, shoot this episode where we covered my career, what made me successful. Although sheepish sometimes about my career, it was really cool to speak with LeBron about my journey and how I was able to play in the league and have success. LeBron brought up an NBA piece of terminology called the Nash Dribble, or Nashing. Yes, I feel kind of awkward explaining this, but essentially, a Nash Dribble is where perhaps I have the ball on the wing, I beat my man, the defender comes to help with the rim, and instead of shooting, passing, or getting out, I would circle under the basket, keep my dribble alive, and just ask questions of the defense. Ask the big if he's gonna switch, ask if they're gonna get back, see who turns their head on the perimeter, see what advantage I create by not getting rid of the ball, but by keeping it and circling under the basket. I think that's all you need to know in this episode. Hopefully you learned something new. And of course, as always, I hope you enjoy Mind the Game. Please like and subscribe. All right, here we are.
Now we're back.
Mind the Game, we're back. What do you want to talk about today?
I mean, I know we do a lot of talking about, the game and other players, and sometimes we even talk about me and all that, but I think it's only right. I know how humble you are, how modest you are, Steve. I know it, but we have to talk about you, man. Like, I just want to know, from not only myself, but from everyone, how are you so successful? Wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the most athletic.
No.
How the hell did you get it done year after year after year? And by the way, 2 MVP trophies.
Thank you.
It's only a select few. We know the list. Only a select few. I want to know.
Well, it's a long story, really.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to your roots.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way, right? Line me up on the line and
Right.
say, let's see who can run, jump, wrestle, fight,
Right.
Throw, whatever. I'm not going to win any of those contests, but I think the way I grew up was a huge part of it. But I think the bottom line is, for whatever reason, however nature, nurture, I can get obsessed.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, is I got obsessed with trying to be the best I could be. So I put in that time. I constantly was trying to get better. I didn't start playing basketball until I was 13. And I think that's kind of where the story starts. My parents from the UK, my dad played soccer.
Yeah, I say big soccer team.
Was out in the backyard playing soccer, and they put me into everything. Growing up on the west coast of Canada, played hockey, played baseball and box lacrosse in the summer.
Right.
So I think for me, not playing basketball till late, I was still getting my 10,000 hours playing other sports, like physical literacy, anticipation, angles.
Yeah.
And then, you learn, when you love playing sports, you learn how to protect space. You learn how to exploit space.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, especially coming from a soccer background, you always have to have your head on a swivel in soccer, because if you're not thinking ahead, you're going to get kicked.
Yep.
The ball comes, so you got to know what you're going to do with it. What are my options? So when I went to start playing basketball, 13 years old, I almost felt like this. I felt it was cheating, that I could use my hands and spin the ball, lob the ball, bounce the ball, use both hands. And so I kind of think that all came from playing all those other sports. And then one other really pivotal part for me, I think, was my dad.
Yeah.
My dad being just loving sports, but his when we played in the backyard, he always challenged me in the right way. So if I try to dribble when I should pass, he's gonna tackle me. If I pass when it's the right decision, he's gonna reinforce it. If I score 3 goals in a game when we get in the car, he wouldn't say 3 goals, yes. He'd be like, you remember that one time you had a shot, you drew the defense, you played it off to your teammate, he had an open goal, best play of the game. So my value system was trying to outthink, outsmart, be clever, be witty, the things that he valued.
Yeah.
Right? So that was always kind of what I was trying to do, was to impress my dad, that I know how to play. And so I think that all these little ingredients, playing all the sports, having that value system, and then, but most importantly, just becoming obsessed with whatever I was doing, those are the huge ingredients.
And then I feel like soccer too, obviously growing to love soccer as I've gotten older, whatever, and respecting the sport. I feel like you being able to use that sport for like knowing angles when you started playing basketball. Like I always was like impressed with your ability to master the angle game as well. You know, out on the floor, either if it was coming off a pick and roll, or if it was a certain pass, or if it was, you know, just kind of reading the defenses or whatever the case may be. You know I could. It's always like anytime you hear someone's background being soccer,
right?
You see how it can translate to the game of basketball, where it almost puts you plays in advance. Because in soccer, if you're not like thinking way ahead, you're not gonna make it.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great point. I mean, I don't think I'd play in the NBA if it wasn't for soccer.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, like physically, you know, in the ballpark, but not like great. And so, you know, that was a huge part of it. And then I think also just being like that, I couldn't like just run past everyone. I couldn't jump over everyone. I couldn't just be physical. I had to be really, really efficient, like develop. And so when talking about angles, you know, I learned to be really greedy. Like, I'm gonna get there and that angle where you're done.
Yeah.
I'm taking you out. Like, I couldn't have any of the excess fat.
Right.
My game,
Yep.
you know, footwork, shooting, passing, decision making had to always be really sharp. So I think that a lot of that came from soccer, the angles, but then a lot of that just came from trial and error. This guy's pushing me left. Will become great in your left. You know, he's stronger than me. How do I keep him on his heels, right? How can I take an angle where I have the advantage and I dictate the pace of play now? Like, so all these little things you learn from trial and error, you learn from being sharp, but you also like learn because you're obsessed. At the end of the day, like for kids, like you're the same. Like you're obsessed with trying to get better. You have a growth mindset. You can't let go of it, right? So all the things we talk about are great and they're all factors. They're all a part of this, you know, pot that makes you who you are, but the one that really I think transcends like for all the great players in sport is they are obsessed with performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Obsessed with getting better.
And funny, while we're on angles, it's funny because I feel like you mastered the angle of the baseline when you played, and it became a thing called the fucking Nash Dribble. When did that become a thing? Or was it just always a part of your game? Yeah. Because we both know, like, some guys get there on the baseline and it becomes like the deep water of the pool.
Right.
Guys are
panic.
The panic.
Yeah.
Step out of bounds or panic, and I need to get back out to the perimeter.
Force a shot.
Yeah, force a shot. You're behind the basket. You don't quite know. You turn the ball over. Like, when did the Nash dribble become like a staple for you?
You know, it's a great question. Like, I don't remember when I started doing it. You know, I will say this though. I grew up, like Wayne Gretzky was my hero when I was a kid, one of my heroes. And for anyone who watched hockey, he used to skate behind the net and stop, like facing the play with his back to the boards. So why is that ingenious? Because he's just changed the perspective of all the defenders, including the goalkeeper, the goaltender. So the goalie's sitting there, the puck stopped behind him. So when he does this, what does he see? He doesn't know, where the traffic's going.
Right, exactly.
So he's doing this. Then defenders, they usually have their back to their goal, seeing everything in front of them.
Right.
Now they have to turn and face their own goal. So they don't know who's cutting, who's changing, right? So it always resonated with me how he was able to flip the script on the defense, change their perspective, put them at a disadvantage. And so I think I started realizing, like, okay, I'm able to get to spots, but I don't have a solution. Like, I can't jump over everyone. You know, later in my career, you know, developed fadeaways and floaters and runners and use the glass and the one-legged stuff. But I needed a solution that I couldn't just get in there and have to take a bad shot or force a play. So what I felt was like, I earned this real estate.
Yeah.
So I'm not just gonna give it back to you.
Right.
By like chucking it out for a non-player, you know, a guy that's not a creator to have to catch it, go to half court, catch it, get it back.
Right.
I was like, I created a defense is now, they're all turning to face me. They don't know who's cutting, who's spacing, who's relocating. And are they gonna switch or are they gonna try to get back?
Yeah.
If they're gonna switch, I'm in charge. I got a big on my guy, or I got the big that I can toy with. I can take him out. I can take a fadeaway. I can keep circling. I can probe, see which defender on the perimeter. So I felt like it was a real estate game. I'd earned that real estate. Now I'd change their perspective. Now they don't know whether to switch and get back. If you're on the perimeter, you have to turn and see where's that ball now. It's in the teeth. It's a little bit like post to pass. Why that's successful is throwing to the post. Now as a defender, you have to see man and ball. So if I turn to see ball,
I cut, I'm gone.
Cutting, screen slipping, whatever it is. So I felt like I created an advantage. I created confusion. I changed their perspective. They had to look in ways that they were uncomfortable or they couldn't see both now. And then if all else fails, if they don't switch, I could throw it up when they were trying to get back. If they do switch, we got a big under the rim, or I can take him out and take advantage. So it really just came from not being able to attack the rim. Like I mean, I could always finish, but I could, if I had space or time. I couldn't just go at a 7-footer or a 6'6" dude, right? Like, so I had to think, all right, I got here, I can exploit this still, just not in the traditional way.
No, that's interesting, especially like the correlation with the whole Gretzky thing. You know, being able to change the whole perception and POV by going behind the goalie, going behind the boards, and now I'm facing it. Everyone has to turn. So I never.
It's also like in soccer. You know, when someone like whips in a cross, if you play it between the goalkeeper and the defense, so the defense now is running back into a place where they don't want to let it go in case someone they can't see is coming behind them. But if they play it, they can put it in their own goal. The goalkeeper's like, should I come or shouldn't I come? So you're putting the defense in a position where you're like, you got some really hard decisions to make. So growing up playing hockey, playing soccer, you kind of recognize some of these things where you put them in a bad position that you can exploit, even if you can't like just run past everyone.
For sure.
Get up over everyone. So, you know, I guess, what do they say? Like, invention is the mother of necessity, or necessity is the mother of invention. That's the right way around.
For sure. But no, that's dope. I got one more question for you before we move on. I know you don't like talking about yourself too much or whatever the case may be, but was it you or was it Dan Tony? 7 seconds or less.
I mean, Mike's amazing. You know, Mike just had a great feel for the game, like, especially offensively. I mean, Mike knows defense. He knows basketball. He draws up great plays after timeouts. You know, he knows the game inside and out. But what I loved about Mike is that he was willing to go away from what everyone else was doing.
Oh, for sure.
You know, so when I signed with Phoenix 2004, as a free agent, came back, started playing pickup with the guys in September. And I think Mike realized there, you know, it was a team that hadn't won many games. They had some young guys, Sean and Amari, obviously great athletes. Joe Johnson was developing into a terrific player. And I think he saw us playing pickup basketball. He's like, why would I slow this down and get into sets that are going to make them less effective than opening this up? Let's put Amari at the 5. Let's put Sean at the 4. Let's switch a lot more. We'll find a way to use our quickness to defend in different ways, and we'll outscore people. And so I think Mike was brilliant in that, like, he was willing to say, wait, why would I? You know, like, that's almost harder. Like, you can go and find, this is the, you know, ATOs. You can look around the world and find whatever you want. But for him to say, like, I'm not going to do what everyone else is doing and take that chance and that risk. You know, it definitely brought the best out of me. Going smaller, having a great roller, 2 with Sean, having shooters around, being able to just create space for me to operate and to make plays, make decisions for my teammates. So I think, one, that was a culmination of me developing and continuing to put my foot down as far as trying to get better. Like, little things like, going into that summer, you know, I always wanted to stay with the Mavericks. You know, I think Mark had been burned on a couple deals. I was 30. At that time, I was attacking the basket a little bit kamikaze. You know, didn't maybe have the balance to my game. I think he was scared, so he let me go. So, you know, all these things kind of happened. But before that happened, I'm thinking to myself, We lost in the playoffs. I think it was to Sacramento. They like put a third defender on our side of the court whenever we were playing two-man game. There was nothing there for me. You know, I always had to go the other side, and they'd play 2-on-1, and that was it. And Rick Adelman was like, I'm happy to let these guys over here play, and in a sense took me out of the series. So I was like, that's not happening again. I'm going to get sharper. I'm going to be better. I'm going to shoot a better percentage. And one of the things that I think helped me a little bit was I played out of my left hand a lot, and I drove left, and I pulled up going right. And somewhere I was like, I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to be able to pull up going both ways, drive the ball both ways. And so I really worked on like some of my deficiencies as an athlete, balance, stability, footwork, quickness in and out of a pull-up, so that now I had more solutions, going left pull, going left runner, floater, going right pull, right floater, finishing both ways. I think it just unlocked a little more, and then Mike saying, we're going to play small. We'll have Amari rolling. We'll have guys running wide. We'll have shooters around, and we'll let Steve go to work. And so I think those two kind of things happening at the same time set me up for a lot of success and set our team up.
And like a lot of the conversations wasn't really talked about that much about guys doing the 50-40-90 thing. You know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Reggie did it, you know, once maybe in the 90s.
I think Bird did it.
I think Bird did it. I'm not quite sure if Ray had done it yet. Maybe. We can always look that up, not quite sure. But it became a thing when you were doing, because it was like, oh shit, every year. Like, once you got into your pocket, it was like 50 from the field, 40 from three, 90 from the free throw line. And everybody was trying to figure out a way how they could fucking obtain that. You know, like everybody's like trying to do that now. Like everyone, not only 50-40-90, but now everyone is playing 4 out, 1 in. You got a guard
or 5 out.
Or 5 out, you know, and trying to figure out how to create space. Like, you know, you said in 2004 or 2005, like when you went to Phoenix, you know, we remember fucking San Antonio, 2 bigs. Detroit, 2 bigs. Miami played with 2 bigs. You know, like Sacramento, 2 bigs. Like everybody were playing 2 bigs. And I don't think that you, and I don't think that Mike gets enough credit for revolutionizing the game to where it is today. You know, they always talk about players. They talk about how transcendent a player can be. You know, Magic and Bird and, you know, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe and Michael and Steph Curry and all, you know. Yourself. I don't think that you and, first of all, your style of play, how you and D'Antoni mirrored so easily to transcend the game. That is the game today. You guys were before his time, the true essence of before his time.
Well, I think it was right at the right time because the rules were changing too. So you couldn't like have 2 hands on a guy anymore. You know, when I came in the league, you could like literally hold a guy's hip and chuck him.
The old Derek Harper rule.
100%. I was like just stuck. I couldn't. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this, right? I mean, you go across the lane, bam. Like it was different, and that was the traditional way the game was played. That physicality. You know, the league, I think, wisely wanted to make it a more free-flowing, open, highlight the athleticism, which, you know, we're going to talk about it later, you know, where that's taken us and how we got here, which I think is amazing. So, like, you think about it. We were small. There's rim protectors. You got Timmy, you got Shaq, you got all these guys around. We didn't have that. But we did have Amari, you know, who has unbelievable feet and hands and athleticism. So how can we cope defensively not being a rim protection team by, one, being different, switching more, you know, trying to find ways to junk up the game in that respect. And on the offensive side, how can we blow teams away? And so it was an amazing time for me in a sense, because I think I had just taken my game, my skills, my confidence to a new level, and then Mike opened the floor up and let me play. But again, like, it was a precursor because we hadn't fully committed as a league, right? We hadn't committed totally to 3-ball. You know, we hadn't committed totally to the analytics at all. You know,
no, for sure. I mean, they talked about you guys. Like, why 7 seconds or less? Like, why you guys got to get up the floor so fast? Like, let things develop. Or why you guys are playing 4 out, 1 in? Like, it's not the league what it is today or at that time. And so, you know, it was kind of like, you know, they did. It's always that it gets to that point when has not been done before. You know, and but it was always respected because of and feared.
Yeah.
That was one of the things, like, you knew you had to get a good night's rest before playing y'all.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't ready to run, you're going to get your ass ran out of the gym.
You know, it's nice of you to say that, but I think, like, I remember we started the year, like, 31-5 or something, and I think what we noticed is, like, by the fourth quarter, teams were done. A lot of times teams were done. They the relentless pace after makes getting it out, and I'm just going and happy to throw ahead or happy just to take it, or if it's semi-transition or, you know, secondary break, we're straight into our drag action. We're spreading the floor, we're getting to it against the defense that's trying to get back. So as the game wears on and we're relentless with that, you know, I think that was as much a precursor, because that's the part maybe we don't talk about as much, is that relentless need. Now, our team's actually slowed down a little after that first year. Like, so much so that I think even that first year, we'd be a bottom team in pace nowadays. So that's one of the things, like, we were thought of as the 7 seconds left playing with this crazy pace. Not even close to the way it's played today, right? Not even close. So I think, like, we were a precursor. I think there's an influence there. I think a lot more teams started to say, I don't have a Timmy, I don't have a Shaq. You know, I got a guy that can kind of protect the rim. He's not skilled, so he hurts us in other ways. So how can we find? And so what's happened is the profile height and players has gone like this. Like, I think while today's game, offensively, I would have been even better. Defensively, would have been harder. It's hard for small guards in today's game. Like, anyone, like, unless you're like a big 6'3", like 6'3" and under, like, it's hard because the court is spread so far. You have to cover guys in space. There's less small players out there. You got to cover guys that are bigger, stronger, spacing, 5-out, rim rollers, whatever it may be. You're on attack at all times. And that position too, like, you can try to hide and guard the 2 or the 3 or whatever on certain teams, but it's becoming harder and harder to do that because of the amount of shooting, the amount of length. Like, you know, there's always someone out there that can drive a closeout on good teams nowadays that are like the fourth option. Right, that's where the game has continued to evolve and revolutionize. But I think, like, back then we were making teams fearful because they knew that they had to. If they didn't stay with us with the pace, it's going to be 20 points before you know it.
For sure.
Right, and then you can't get back in because you're tired. Right. So that was a precursor, but still, like, not even close to where we are today. But man, those were some fun teams. Mike was unbelievable. I think at putting us in that position, and then, you know, for me, I think it was. The confluence of the rules being less physical, more open, that allowed me to really highlight my creativity, how to exploit space, how to find angles, like you said. I had to be so greedy with my angles just because I wasn't as athletic as most of the guys I'm playing against. But incredible time. And you see it now. You see it around the league. The seeds of that now.
For sure. It's blossomed. For sure. Shout out, man, Mike D'Antoni, man, one time.
Sure.
Shout out
Cheers
Mike D'Antoni. For sure. For sure.
Definitely taught me a lot. You know, as someone who's always looking for that next rush, whether it's driving the lane or threading the needle, we get it. You need that excitement. And let me tell you, I found it in Audible. No joke, these audiobooks have me on the edge of my seat, whether on a long drive or in a recovery session. From heart-pounding thrillers to epic adventures, these stories have you on the edge of your seat like you're right in the middle of the action. They've got these Audible originals that are absolutely amazing, plus all the bestsellers you've been meaning to check out. The best part? You can get started with a free 30-day trial at audible.com. Audible knows there's no greater thrill out there than yours. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat on Audible. Sign up for a 30-day free trial on audible.com/game and dive into a world of new thrills. That's audible.com/GAME. In this episode, LeBron mentioned the 2-9 guy, or 2-9ing. Essentially, that is the help defense's opportunity to come help and be in the lane, not guarding their designated offensive player, but playing in a zone or in a help position. You only have under 3 seconds. So in the league, we say the 2-9 guy, or 2.9, for the amount of time you're allowed to spend in the lane without guarding your direct offensive player. We also talked about the X-out guy in this conversation. So essentially, if we have 2 shooters stacked on offense in a pick and roll, here comes the pick and roll. comes the ball handler. This defender rolls. Obviously, we have defenders all over the floor here. As the roller rolls, usually it's this corner man's opportunity to come in and help. This X takes up this position between the two offensive players and then takes the first pass wherever it goes. And then the original rotator is going to now take his original man.
We continue to talk about, you and Phoenix and when you guys were, 7 seconds or less and 4 out, 1 in, or whatever the case may be, or sometimes even, I remember sometimes Matrix even be at the 5,
or
at
Channing
the time.
Frye.
Or Channing Frye, be at the 5. But one thing that I noticed that wasn't really being done a lot in our league was the dribble up, pull up threes. That you kind of mastered. I can only remember maybe one guy in our league, maybe a couple guys. I know Big Shot Billups.
Sure.
He was really good with his rocker pull up, but you kind of mastered that. And was it something that was just like, did it just something that you worked on, or just kind of clicked, or was like, okay, in order for us to really expand our offense, that had to be done?
A bit of everything. I remember guys did it. Like I remember Tim Hardaway used to pull up from 3 and stuff, but like back then we just didn't shoot as many threes. So for me, again, like just the need to like exploit space and time. And so I practiced it. Make a couple, you're like, I can repeat that. Now let me practice it like full speed, get him on his heels, pull up a 3. If I can make that like an efficient shot, that's a weapon.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Especially
now the defense has to keep.
They come up higher.
Higher.
You see it like with Steph, like how he's, I wanted to shoot close to the line. If I grew up today, I'd probably shoot deeper. But
for sure.
We were coming from an area where like, you don't take those shots. You don't take a bunch of threes.
Right. Throw it in the post.
It was the opposite, right? It was almost looked down upon.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're trying to get close to the line and pull. But what Steph has been brilliant at is drawing the whole defense out. And now like the culture, like you see how every night you see guys take threes from 2-3 feet behind. It's not just Steph. It's like the whole league takes threes. You take threes from out here. Whereas I don't think in the first 3, 4, 5 years of your career, you're trying to step a yard outside. Like
it was only if it was the clock was going down.
Literally,
right?
Right. So I felt like I had an advantage because I could push the ball hard at the defense, and you have a decision to make. You have a decision, and this kind of goes into how I played in general, but. You had a decision to make. Are you going to get up above the 3-point line, at which point I can go by you? Or are you going to get on your heels, at which point I had the 3?
Right.
I think it also came a little bit from, I essentially played out of a hesitation. So, I would say, that was such a key to my game because I didn't have to work that hard. And basically what I was saying, just had to just dance and hold the ball, let it hang, and I could have it hang right here. So you couldn't reach for it. If you did, I could just go through your arm. But at the same time, if you got on your heels, I could go up. But what I was really doing is baiting you to get too close. So as it hangs, you have a decision to make. Do you want to respect that he might go by me, or do I want to close the gap because he could shoot? And then if you didn't come, I could just do it again. So nowadays we stop and we shoot from here. But back then I could walk my guy to 12, 15 feet sometimes because they were fearful that I was going to go by them and create havoc. And then just 1 hezzy, 2 hezzy, 3. Now I'm at 14, 15 feet. Back in the day, that was a great shot.
Right.
Right now we're eliminating those and we're shooting them from here. But so for me, I didn't have to 6, 7 hard dribble moves to get to my spot. I could just skip, hang the ball, keep it away from you, and just ask you, coming or not.
Where the hell you get that swag from? Because you said I grew up playing lacrosse, hockey. That right here, that ain't them ain't hockey moves. That ain't hockey swag. That ain't lacrosse swag.
There's little bits in there. So like, I remember at hockey camp when I was like 11 years old. Just a little guy, and the coach stopped the camp and said, "Steve, show me that head fake." And we're just like huddled up. I didn't know what he meant. He's like, you know that, and he's like, every time you come up on a guy, your head just starts going. And he's like, and they get on their heels. He's like, show the guys. And it was the first thing, I didn't know I was doing that. I was just trying to get him off balance.
Right.
And so I think there was something that I always just innately liked about rhythm, just changing your balance, getting you to lean one way or the other. Right. Same in soccer too. You show a little bit too much of the ball, but you know, in the last second. And so lacrosse too, like you know, you're trying to basically get a guy on this wrong foot or whatever. Maybe. So I think it was in there from a deception standpoint. And that just, to me, like, and then like, started playing basketball, fell in love with it. Like the first Air Jordan 1, Spike Lee commercials.
There you go. Now it's coming out.
Right
now
when
it's
I was
coming out.
in the 8th grade, right when I started playing, or 7th grade, summer going into 8th grade, I was like, this world's amazing. And then, I mean, let's also just be real. Like, I wanted to be black.
Listen.
all the best players in the world were black. Man. All the best rappers, you know.
Listen.
So I'm trying to emulate anyone who had something about them, right? Something that had some, you know, some way to deceive, just the beautiful handle.
Funny. It's so funny you say that, because we say the same shit about AR. We be like, AR, there's no way you learned that in fucking Arkansas. Right. It's like Markeith Moore, as we call him, Smooth on the team. It's like, no, fuck that. I'm not believing you from Arkansas. You got to be from New Jersey or whatever. all of that, you got that bop, 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 bop. Like, you didn't learn that shit in Arkansas.
No, but that's the thing. I'm sure he, like me, was like, I want to do more with the ball. I want to be able to beat better players off the dribble. I want to, you want to emulate the greats. And for me, that was an exciting way to play, was like watching, Hardaway Killer crossover, or Kenny Anderson, or these guys I grew up watching were just wizards with the ball. Like Isaiah was my hero. Like his handle was amazing, his ability to create space shots. So that's what I wanted to be, right? I wanted to be that, and so I would be out there practicing all the time, like just trying to, and then you go play and you're trying to do it, and then you start getting a little success with it, and you build on it, right?
I just build on it.
And I think like eventually just playing and recognizing all I need is my hezi. I can just, you're not coming, one more.
Yeah.
You're not coming, one more. Oh, you're I'm up. Oh, you're too close, gone. Right? It made the game simple. I didn't have, like I said, have to make too many dribble moves. I could pull, I could go left, I could go across. You could do it out of the right hand too. So I always preferred playing out of my left. It was more like natural for me. But I think, funny enough, because I sprained my ankle like in the 10th grade and refused to take time off. So like I went from a left foot jumper, not that I was ever a jumper, but left foot jumper to a right foot jumper, just because this ankle still to this day is not as the same, not as good.
Right.
I just never, I was like, I'm playing through this 6 weeks, I should be sitting down. And so I think I just was better pushing off my right. So I preferred playing out of my left. And it's funny, right, how all these little things add up to something. I learned to play out of my right, of course, it's your right hand, but like that saved me so much as a player. Energy, simplicity, like getting myself in trouble, pick and roll setups, same as the hip swivel. Like I never wanted to turn my back. As a barely over 6 foot guard, I don't want to have my back to the basket. I want you to always feel the pressure I'm putting on you. So if I ever did have to turn my back, it was only to get back around. So one of the things I did was this really a hezi is a hip swivel. So 1, 2, pop, pop. And then what are you going to do? You're going to come tight, I'm going to go by you. You fall off, I got the pull up. If I feel like you think you know what's going on, yank it back. So it all just kind of developed out of necessity, and then realizing how efficient I can be playing out of hesitation. It really helped me in pick and roll setups too.
For sure.
Because I would just play one-on-one. I wouldn't tell you the screen's coming.
For sure. For sure.
As soon as you start, so off I go. So
you're going to lean in one way, you go another way.
100%. And my belief in the pick and roll is like, and they say this as kids, but I don't think drill down enough. For me, the pick and roll was made in the setup, because that gave me space. So if you couldn't touch me when I'm coming off, because I got you leaning, so that sometimes would be split right before the screen, not after. Go by him this way. One time, just to put him on guard, right? Just to put him on guard, I might go by you. Now you don't, it's hard to press up.
It's hard to press up.
So you got the reject, you got the just go, play out of the hezi, but essentially just trying to set your defender up to not be able to get into you, right? And so then what does that do? So now I'm off, he can't touch me. Now the big is isolated. Now it's me and you, Okay?
That's over with.
And then the roller's going, and you're taught to drop with the roller. Well, if you don't, someone's coming in, I got the corner. I still got the ISO on the big. So getting that yard of space is where the guard can't shove you, allow the big to drop. Now the big is nailed to you. They have to guard you. And so now I'm in charge. I can hard dribble pull. I can do my Gretzky. I can. You don't want to come. I can bait you floater, and of course pocket pass. Guy from the corner comes. But to me, it all started by just playing out of the hezzy, getting him leaning. Oh, off I go. You're not attached. And then a coach says, stay attached. Stay attached. So I'm going to use that against you.
Yep.
So one foul, two.
You sit to the bench.
You sit next to coach.
Yep.
Right. So now we're playing.
Yep.
Now I'm trying to get inside your head. Now I know you don't want to get a second one, even if you're faking it for coach.
Right.
So then I might be like, I'll let you win on the hezzy. So here you come, follow me off. You're attached. Stop. Hit me.
Yep.
Fall over. 2. Right. Sit down. So that you're getting in the head. So trying to just use the hezzy to be able to get off clean on a pick and roll, now the pocket's huge because that big's dropping. He's isolated on me. He thinks I might go by him and the roller. So he's dropping. No one can contest the pocket. It's my world. Right? I can exploit it how I want.
And you've created so much more opportunity for the other 4 guys now because now you've already got your guy off of you. It's a chain of events that happen. Now the big is looking at his guard that was guarding you. He's off the body. So he's like, shit, I got to protect you more because you off Nash body. Now the 2-9 guys, like, now I got to protect the big. He's in there. Now it's just a numbers game. Now I'm like,
this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then jump up to the corner, throw the big. Things you see Luka and you do. All those little things you can do. The X out guy. He's there and the thing. So it's this one or that one, whatever it is. But you are in charge and their rotations. And if all else fails, I would do the stop, let him run me over, or sometimes let him fight. Just give him enough space to try to fight through and pull up. So you just had all these little tools to try to make the defender be less aggressive, be a little on edge. Because when they're on edge, you can one inside out and you're gone the other way.
Now they get the peeking at they're trying to see where the screen is coming from now, and now reject happens. They all
Right, and whether it's like, they know it's the 10th time in a row we're running angle. That's fine, but I never would give it away.
Right.
Or sometimes give it away, Right, so just always making the defender feel like I don't know what's coming next. I think that really helped me make it simple, right,
for sure.
and exploit. I see you doing the same thing. You don't have to, you can just use your size, strength, and ability, but then the computer turns on. When whatever you've created with your size, now you can spray the ball over the gym or get to the rim.
The deception game.
That's it. Deception. That was it. I wasn't.
You was the master of the deception game.
I wasn't fast. I was fast on the street. I wasn't fast in the league. So, I had to be deceptive and that was a huge, the hezzy, the separation, the pick and roll, all that stuff. It just had a huge impact on how I was able to be successful.
You just listen, Steve Nash just broke down for all the 6'2" and under guys that want to play the game.
That's it.
That may not be faster, stronger, more athletic. He just broke it down on how you can still, master your craft and be. It's a deception game.
And also make hundreds of shots a day. Because if you can't shoot, you can't play. Especially today. You can't shoot, you can't play. Today, for sure, especially because small guys can't really guard. You have to fake it till you make it. Couple maybe. Even in the league. How many small guys in our league can really guard?
Right.
Just because of size.
Right.
Space. The guy's going to jump over, bully, whatever it is. So you have to be able to shoot.
If you can make shots, it'll keep you on the court.
That's right. And then that's the other part I think but what I love about today's game is more people making plays. So if you can also just make the simple one, drive a closeout.
Right, start the blender.
Yeah, start the blender. 2-on-1 over there, just simple, early. Early, simple. If you can do that, you can play on so many teams.
I don't know if people realize how much a simple, you catch 2-on-1, the cadence between if you make the pass on time on target or if you hesitate, how much it throws the guy off from his shot, his rhythm.
Great point. You can really break someone's rhythm by, because they're expecting swing in the pocket as a rhythm skill, as a rhythm player. Like, that's part of it. But also just in this league with the athletes, that split second could be contested or uncontested. It could be blocked or not blocked. Could be a number of things. It leads to a turnover, right?
Yep.
Even the pass to him, that deflection, catches it. If it's not out of bounds, catch it foot, stuck in the corner, So being able to play simple, play quick, not being. I remember my rookie year, Danny Ainge is my coach. He's like, play quick but don't hurry. Play quick but don't hurry. I think as young players we want to hurry. We're in a rush to do things. Whereas, like now when you've mastered the craft, like you do, the game's just slow, right
slows down.
You're moving the chess pieces instead of them moving.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
How's that wine?
It's not bad. I mean,
it's
definitely a conversational wine.
Yeah.
It's not bad though. It's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. Tuesday night in Indianapolis at the
Thunderdome.
At the Thunderdome, I take it.
Usually, snobby wine drinkers say no to this stuff.
It's not bad.
Thanks for watching Mind the Game. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe for more content.